Ventriloquist.
That's a twist, man.
Yeah. The setup.
Who told you that one? Is that from The Office or on the water cooler? Or?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's where the jokes are. Monday morning.
Good stuff is. You like the setup though. The first line was the best.
Right.
God, I mean, that's where most of the joke is.
Yeah, exactly.
It's all in the setup.
It's the handsome hour. It's Boiler Dowd. It's Anish. It's Jay. I don't know who's here. Probably nobody. Is anyone still watching? Let me start us off with a question. I want to start even before thanking our sponsors. No, actually, no. Let's not. I'll ask you after this. Let's thank our sponsors.
I want to thank our pals at AJ's. I'm actually wearing AJ's gear tonight, not home field apparel gear, just because I want my co-host to be green with envy. We've already talked about this off camera, off. What do you call it? Recording, off streaming. But if you go over to AJ's, they will not have a sweatshirt for everybody. They won't. But they will have delicious American pub fare.
Enter Boiled at checkout for a sweatshirt.
That's right.
Tell them Boiler Dowd said you can have one if you order. They should have like a massive 1 pound burger or 2 pound burger, and if you eat it, you get an AJ sweatshirt.
I wonder if Adam comes on tonight. Maybe we can see if he'll.
I think that's
fair. He's fun. Adam's a ton of fun.
He's reasonable.
Both Jake. They're both reasonable.
Go to AJ's. Go to AJ's. Feed your face. It's good. It's good stuff.
And if you're like me, the next time you're going to be on campus, of course, will be for the Minnesota game, and that'll be a lovely chance to have a great weekend.
I just made myself spit laugh on the microphone.
It's fine. You're eating an entire family bag of Skittles.
No, you
recording
I'm having Smarties.
The key Boiler Dowd move of opening an entire package of Werther's Originals next to the microphone.
You whippersnapper, they're Smarties.
Yes. Well, yes. This is the
clear. Well, what do you think of AJ's? Oh,
there we go.
Look at the heart.
The AJ's love.
What do I think? AJ's. I love AJ's. When I go there,
to the heart thing. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. That was it. But when I go there though, I got to tell you, there are so many different things. Literally every time I'm trying to figure out what exactly I'm going to get just to scratch the itch. So
I got the Euro burger last time. And it was delightful.
I had the breakfast burger because I went in there once and I got something really plain, and Adam gave me a ration of shit. So I got the breakfast burger last time. Anywhere I go, the breakfast burger usually works.
It's all good. Eggs on a burger. I love it.
I mean, it's
eggs and bacon on a burger.
It's underrated. I mean, it sounds kind of like, yeah, right. No, it's really good.
It's great.
It's great. And then also we'd like to thank, I'm wearing home field this evening, and I have to say,
look at this. All three of us are in different gear.
We didn't.
She's wearing the.
I like that you say it like it's amazing, like we couldn't plan it, because the truth is we never do. So often we end up wearing the same thing.
This far.
So I love this sweatshirt. By the way, you know how you like, you find yourself saying, "Man, I might give them more of my money." They have this shirt, but in a hoodie, and I love the crew, but I like this It's like 1910 or 1919 logo.
Griffin, the seal.
It's really old. This is like, it's got the Griffin, but it's really old. Anyway,
but you were on campus when they released that logo, weren't you?
I was. Go to home field, enter Boiled 23 at checkout, and get 15% off your first order.
Mm-hmm. Did you see Mark Goshorn says you're supposed to just go into AJ's and yell "Boiled"?
I endorse this.
Right.
I think you should
give it a try. See if maybe Adam will come out there. You know.
Oh, that's what makes him appear. It's like Beetlejuice.
That's right. Boiled.
I was going to ask you guys. Here we are. It's October 30th. It's not even November yet. And I know the answer. I like asking questions that I know the answers you're both going to say, but I like to add. It's performative. This is an art form.
Right,
and exactly. I'm going to say, is Purdue's football season over?
What do you mean? Is it over? There's tons of games left. There's so much
games left.
I mean, I don't mean literally. I mean,
5 if you include the Pinstripe Bowl that we're going to.
With 5 wins.
It's going to be one of those years. Oh, man, wouldn't that be the best? If it's one of those years where they need a 5-win team and Purdue goes, you'd be like, oh, gracious.
Oh, that's the funny thing is, like I said to you guys a couple weeks ago, I don't want to wish away football season just to get to basketball. I don't want to wish away the basketball season just to get to March, to get the postseason.
But then it's starting to get warmer out. So then it's kind of a nice time of year.
Yeah,
And then the tournament's behind you because it's always over very quickly.
Right, exactly.
They canceled
But I can tell you,
Sunburst
what
last
happened this last weekend makes me almost wish away
I
football
know.
season. Holy moly, did that change quickly?
So
That was
one
rough.
thing that, and I said this to you guys, that demonstrated to me what we all knew, and that is Nebraska's not good. They're really not good. Like,
You know what's funny about that? I think I agree, but they're having the best season that they've had in like 6 years.
yeah,
They
I
won
made
three
that point.
straight games, guys. They've won
Oh, they're
three
5-3.
straight games.
No, they're doing what, of course, we wish Purdue could do, and what Purdue has done in some recent seasons, where you win, and 8-9 games. You win games you should. They're not going to win 9 games this year. Let's not delude ourselves. What Purdue did 2 years ago. They're not going to win 8, I don't think, which is what Purdue did last year. These are just the things you need to remind Nebraska fans.
They like those reminders. I'm told
they are so chatty, and I know we had Greg.
it's incredible. It's incredible how delusional they are.
I had a guy, and one of the only fan bases I ever go in on anymore is Nebraska, and I just said, guys, the last time you had a winning season was 2016 under Mike Riley. Like that, they won 9 that year. Now, if Purdue over the last 2 seasons, and if you want to lump this season in, has won 19 games over the last 2.5 seasons. You have to go back 5 years and add them all up to get to that many for Nebraska.
Is that
And yet you had somebody on Twitter say they own Purdue.
It's so
listen. Purdue is not good right
well? The
now.
Big Ten, the Big Ten has been around since the late 1800s, so it's a historic rivalry. They must be talking about.
But Purdue, here's the thing, guys, and this isn't being a homer because I don't think. I mean, none of us
We're
are
not homers. We're a lot of things. We're not homers.
Purdue's a better football
Many
program.
people have accused us of many things.
Exactly.
Purdue's a better football program right now than Nebraska. Suck on that, Husker fans. Purdue's a better football program. Purdue's been to bowls, 4 in the last 6 years? 3 or 4, something like that. They've won the Big Ten West. They've won 9 games. Like, Nebraska hasn't been over 500 since 2016.
It's crazy.
So stuff it. You still might not be. That still might not happen.
Was 16 Pelini? 16
no,
was
16 was Mike
Pelini
Riley.
years.
They went.
Oh, Riley.
They went 9-4 that year. Think about how good that would feel for them right now. 9-4,
and they're not going to sniff that. I don't know if they will next year because, as we've talked about for Purdue, for programs that are in the Nebraska-Purdue echelon, yes, I did that.
You just said that, yeah.
The Big Ten is not getting easier. So I don't know where Nebraska. You should be just as sad that the West is going away as teams like Purdue, Northwestern.
Why? Did they win the West?
Well, it's not getting easier. Let's put it that way.
BS Analytics is in my ear here. Our BS Analytics correspondent. No, they did not win the Big Ten West. They only won the leaders and/or legends. I'm not sure. I still can never remember.
That's Pelini. That was Pelini.
Yes, Pelini got them there in like one of their first years in the Big Ten because he went to like the Big 12 title game right before they left the Big 12, and then he went to the Big 10 title game, and then they ran him out of town.
Yeah, and I think everybody, Pelini, Nebraska fans, this is gonna be easy. We're gonna dominate this mother. Just year in, year out, we're going to conference.
But it's each coach has thought they're going to dominate, or they're going to dominate Purdue, right? Like, so but the scale slid, right? When Pelini came in, it was like, oh, we're going to dominate the Big Ten. Oh, we're going to dominate our division. Then it was Scott Frost. Oh, Purdue's winnable. Oh, none of these things happened. None of them happened. So, yes, you're starting to win games you're supposed to win. Let's not forget, you got freaking walloped by a really, really mediocre Colorado team. And you lost to a legitimately bad Minnesota team.
To be fair, though,
let's be
to
fair.
be fair, they are improving.
Oh, absolutely.
Like they are actually showing. They are through the year. They are showing.
Might we
signs
say
of
that the two,
especially on the defense
programs kind of look like this, and they.
Well, we'll get to this. We'll get to Purdue.
Oh, do we have?
We'll get to Purdue because I don't think I agree with.
I know you don't agree with it, but I can tell you that I felt as dark as I have about this program in a long time because of the fact that you're coming off a bye week. All we hear is coaches saying how healthy everybody is. You're playing a program that is not great, and you get absolutely dominated. That to me, like what Jay's saying is they're not that good. I agree, they're not that good. And Purdue looked horrendous. Purdue looked on offense as bad as they have since shit. What year? What year? I mean, we got to go back to.
16, 15,
yeah.
right? I mean, like the
Right.
year before Brom, right? So this is where I'll agree. And this is where I'll go back to something that I said on the last Handsome Hour 2 weeks ago, which was Purdue fans don't really have like sky high expectations for the football program as a whole. Be 500 and be entertaining. But Purdue has, at least over the last 30 years, standards for offensive football. And that is where I think that is where most of the frustration is being felt. And I totally agree on the offensive side of things. And we'll talk about, we've talked about scheme like all year, right? We've talked about the lack of, creativity, particularly within the red zone or within, 25 yards when it's time to score, right? When it's time to convert, when it's time to get
It was
points.
worse than that
And
this
it's
week.
not helped.
And you were right before.
No,
Yeah.
so I'll say,
Yeah.
hold on. So, and it's not helped by the fact that the kicker isn't able to make field goals, right? So, like you're seeing 0 points rather than 3 on the board.
But this week we had the first string kicker back, and he comes back in and it gets blocked, which was a point to me back saying, why the hell don't we have a special teams coordinator? So I started on this slippery thing where I was like, oh boy, I don't feel good about anything that's happening.
Well,
right
so and in past weeks, I think we've had plenty of reason to look at Graham Harrell and say, where's the scheming? You know your talent.
There's no scheming.
You know it's there and it's not here. This week, I don't think that. This week, when you have a quarterback that looked completely spooked from the minute the game started not until the fourth quarter did a good
get settled in. Yeah, you're right.
Settled. And it wasn't really the offensive line's fault. The offensive line was patchwork, but it wasn't the worst that it looked all year. It was like an average performance for the line. Gus Hartwig was back, and he is the heart. He's, I think, been the best offensive player so far this year, which is kind of stunning to say, right? And
really think about this. You might be right.
And I thought that it wasn't an abysmal offensive line performance. It wasn't a great Nebraska defensive line. That's not, to me, where that defense. I think their linebackers were really impressive that game.
Think about what their defensive backs did to Purdue too. They eliminated receivers.
So here's the thing. Hudson Card didn't look comfortable at all from the jump until the fourth quarter. The receivers had balls hit their hands a dozen times, not in the best of spots, but they hit their hands. 12 dropped passes or something like that, whatever, 11 dropped passes from people like Burks, right? Good receivers, right? And so it's like, we got the Fumblerooski happening again. We got Maccabee, unable to hold on to the football. It's not great, right? And so at this point, it's like at some point, you can have the best ski. You can have Brom back, Jeff, not Brian, as the offensive coordinator. And I don't know what Brom could have done, what Jeff Brom could have done.
The ex-Purdue coach that cut his teeth at Purdue and worked out all the kinks, and then is at Louisville now, and where nothing other than rain can stop him.
Yeah,
that's the guy.
Well, but what I'm saying is with 12 drops, with a quarterback that looked entirely spooked, with a starting running back where Maccabee was starting again, like that fumbled again. It's like, I don't know what the best offensive scheme could have done to score points in that situation, right? And the pity of it is where I flip this, right? I think that was outside of Illinois. I think that was among the more and there was one Dylan Thieneman pass that made the score.
Yeah, he had one bad play, right?
He bit the wrong way. It was the first time he really looked like a freshman. That was the long pass, the long touchdown pass, right? Mm-hmm. Other than that, I think that was one of the more impressive defensive performances that we've seen.
They were great on defense. Yeah, because think about how many times the defense got short field handed to them, right? Where you're like, okay. And they were still doing their job. It's funny, you look 31 points. I've heard a lot of people say defense didn't play that great. They allowed 31 points. I'm like, you didn't watch the game then, because that's really not the case at all. The defense was doing everything they could to hold the thing back. And in the second half, in fact, they were pretty damn good.
And Brothers is out. Brothers is out for the year. And so it's like you're also losing players on that end. And
which one?
The OC, the one OC brother, not the other one.
Oh, okay, that's
No,
it.
not,
Okay.
but
I didn't
it's
know
not
it
both.
was
We
the
may
other
get
one.
the other one back.
Yep.
One of them is out.
I hope so. He'd be helpful.
So, but that is, it's funny. We always bring offensive coaches into Purdue, and that's where you look to see the instant transformation, or at least the trend up through the year. This is a defensive coach's football team.
So let me hear this. This gets me to my jumping off point.
Yeah.
This is where Jay and I talked, and I'm not going to get all the way into my deep, dark place. I'm not going to go all the way there, Jay. I hope. But do you see a scenario in which, okay, so next year Jenkins is gone, right? Goodness gracious.
He's been so impressive.
Oh,
I mean, like
he's
Jenkins
Don't you hate
scouting.
wasting that?
Gosh,
I
I don't
hate
know.
him.
I mean, like it's cool. Like
No, I hate the fact that great having that guy and
Yeah,
not
he's
having
such a good season. I mean, he's leading the nation.
It's just a bummer.
Like 3 different categories. He's so legit good.
He's so good.
And he gets like no mention. Thieneman's gotten mentioned a bunch, but I feel like
Right.
he's not getting
What
because
he
they're
deserves.
losing.
Right.
You know? And you're jumping off
That's
points.
the whole
Sorry, go
thing.
on.
Let's pretend for a second this defense takes the step that I thought they were going to take next year. Because that's the whole thing. I've said I think the defense could make that jump in the second year. In my opinion, the way the offense sits right now and the weapons that we know are returning, plus a very, very good defense, I don't think it's enough to propel you into 6-7 wins in modern football. That's my problem. Is we're still in an era where, boy, teams can score. We saw Iowa. Was it? No, Penn State. Pardon me. Penn State has been bulletproof. Right? They have 2 plays. 2 plays let IU completely control the game. Right? A 69-yard pass and a 90-yard pass, and that's just they blitzed at the wrong time. IU called the right audible. Right? That's what it looked like to me. Maybe because it looked like, especially on the 69-yard pass, that they were blitzing from that side. IU's quarterback, who's not great, found him. That's all you need. That's really all you need. It doesn't take, tremendous.
You think Hudson Card could do that? You think Graham Harrell and Hudson Card? So now
they blitzed a lot though. Penn State blitzed a lot. I think they thought we can do this against IU.
Well, and they're generally right.
Yeah.
They won by
almost weren't. That's the thing. It's so crazy. You watch that Penn State game.
I was gonna say you are upset that we're wasting a year of not Scourton but Jenkins. Like that Penn State defense is awesome, and that Penn State offense is absolutely just giving it away. Right? I mean, that is a title-winning defense, and that offense is just.
And they've got by the way, and Penn State has a 5-star quarterback. This is where
Purdue has a 4-star quarterback.
I know.
I mean, what you're describing is a bigger version of what Purdue's right now. Purdue's defense is more than good enough to be a bowl team. Would you agree?
Yes,
the defense is more than good enough to be.
Think about if Jeff Brom had this defense. I know that doesn't.
Well, remember what was it? The first year that who was the insane defensive? Not
Holt.
Insane. Holt. Yeah. Remember how he whipped the defense into shape quickly, and we were like, wow, like. The defense was actually playing better than we expected then. The offense we knew we'd get something good with Brom, but he didn't have all the parts yet. And the defense really made it. I remember us saying, man, with this defense really probably is why this team made a bowl because it was better than expected.
Right.
But they were never, I don't think, this good. And man, this is a good enough defense and they have the parts on offense enough. So here's what I was going to say. I've come around a little more on you were sort of out on Harrell a while ago. And I was saying I kind of believe in like, okay, let's give people, I don't know, say half a season, I think is what I said to you, or a season. But I think I've come around.
I gave a half a season before. I didn't want to make any judgment.
No, but you can't. You cannot. Some of these the Iowa game, this game, you can't be putting up 1 touchdown basically because that's what the team did. They got 1 defensive score. You can't do that, and like that's not an air raid offense. An air raid offense on a bad team scores points. Right. Like otherwise you shouldn't be running it because if you don't have the personnel for it, then don't run it. Like
I agree that the last couple of games there have been. I think the Iowa game is the game I'd point to. That is the game where it's like you should have been able that. But again, that's a great defense. That's a legitimately great.
Nebraska's defense isn't great. It's good.
I don't think
they've got athletes in there, not that good.
I don't think the best scheme in the world could have gotten over the execute. And we don't blame dudes on this. And I'm not going into any individual here, but I don't think the best offensive coach in the world could have schemed that execution to much more than what Purdue put up. Maybe
was it Purdue +3 in turnovers?
Yeah. No, I think they were only like +1.
Okay.
I think it was
still,
4
they
to
were
3.
plus. They were
plus.
plus.
Oh, I was going to start this off by saying to you guys, if I
gave Purdue the ball 5 times.
Guys, you had 4 fumbles forced and recovered, a defensive score, and you held the other team under 300 yards of total offense. Think about those factors.
You weren't in position at all to think the game was ever.
And it never felt like you got blown out.
Yeah, when it was 14-24, and then there was half a thing, but then you've dug the hole too far, right? I mean, but again, you've dug it too far.
This Nebraska, this team, Anish, when that happened, there was like 6.5 minutes left, and I thought, every Nebraska fan, and even some of these players are going, "Oh shit, this has happened before."
Yeah.
Like they could blow that game. They were absolutely trying to. Sorry, you were going to make a point.
But it's at that point you've dug the hole too far. But at this point in the first quarter, when you force a turnover, you start the drive on the fumbled punt. You start the drive in the red zone, and you come away with 0 points because there was a drop pass and there was a miss.
So there were two
Or no,
possessions.
you end up -7, right? That was where you ended up -7, right? Oh, see, it's happy balloons time. The angry balloons.
2 times.
Yeah, 2. Yeah,
but
man,
no, to me, it's like I think that performance was on execution. And okay, then the follow-up is who's.
So you're saying time out, because I see there are people in the margins that agree with you. If Purdue would have just executed Harrell's sweet game plan,
catch a ball. I'm literally not even saying, I'm not saying the scheme. I'm not saying the scheme is anything like this, but I am saying there's nothing that scheme could have done with that execution on Saturday, where you had that many dropped passes.
When in that game did we see Harrell say, "Okay, we're gonna have to go. This isn't going."
I'm not saying that. I again am not defending.
Break
Harrell.
out of your mold, dude. Not you, Harrell. Just say, "Okay, it's not working. What is happening today isn't according to what I thought based on film." I don't feel he has the ability to do that. That's the thing I'm bothered by more than anything.
I'm not sure.
You've got to be an innovator in this game. I watched Kansas. They're doing more before the snap than Purdue does on their trickiest play.
But
because
Leipold
they're trying to create matchups, right?
Leipold's one of those guys. You're talking about the top of the top, right? And again, this is not a defense of Harrell. This is that last week, I'm not sure what could have been done with that offensive execution. I'm not sure what could have been done. And again, if there were, instead of 12 dropped passes, if there were 3, I could say, and it still kind of turned out to this.
I feel like you're ignoring the fact that Purdue was given so many gifts. That to me has to be brought into the equation, that you were given possessions, right? They were given those, and then they would go 0 yards. Sure, you're right, because they weren't catching the ball. Right?
Again, it's execution. I like if you're doing creative pre-snap stuff, and the receivers are dropping balls. If you're doing creative,
they aren't doing anything creative pre-snap. But you're not.
No. I'm not saying they weren't doing creative. I'm not saying they were doing creative things.
There's nothing creative right now.
But I'm saying last week, the Nebraska game in particular, that is not one where the Iowa game and the there was one in particular. Ohio State is what it is, right? I mean,
right.
Same thing. Michigan is going to be what it is. But there was one earlier, maybe Syracuse or something like that, where it's like you could have schemed that to a win. Right? Fresno, you could have schemed that to a win with the performances that we got, right? I think when you're calling for a coach in his first year at the school to be gone, you need multiple performances like that. And I agree that it's there.
I'm not calling for being gone. I'm calling for do something, earn
do something.
Money. Like I am pissed about this. And you can hear it, like, earn your money. I hear all this stuff about this guy is in the greatest coaching tree ever, and we're going to see this awesome air raid and they're going to put the ball up and force teams into weird situations. I have not seen that once. And if you look at the trend line, I know you like numbers more than I do. The trend lines are awful. Everything's awful. It's all going downhill. And that's why I asked in the post game, which one is it? Is it the fact that we have attrition at the offensive line? Is it the fact that you have, I said Card, but let's say Card plus the receivers making mistakes? Or is it just that Harrell doesn't have anything in the bag?
All of the above. It's all of the above.
And that's my worry for next year. That's when I start going to the dark place next year. The schedule next year is every bit as bad as this year.
This is the new Big Ten. And this is what I was saying.
No. There's a little something special sprinkled in here. The fact that Purdue had Babinski loading up the schedule last few years, right? And that's the funny thing. Oh boy, I'm not going to get there. Okay, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to go all the way where I was going. But Babinski,
I encourage it.
I'm not going to do it yet. Babinski has screwed the football program with the build of this schedule. We didn't know when they scheduled the pre-con the way they did, right? But this next year, you've got another murderous pre-con.
Don't you have Oregon State and Notre Dame?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that?
I mean,
Serenity now.
People want it. We can buy out of the Notre Dame game just like IU bought out of.
Do you realize?
Louisville.
Basically, Purdue's going to play 11 Big Ten games.
Buy out the Oregon State game, not the Notre Dame game. If you're going to buy out one for Purdue fans, that Notre Dame game is something that a lot of Purdue fans have wanted to see for a long time.
When it was scheduled, Oregon State wasn't that great of a team.
No, but I'm saying if you're going to buy out of a quality game,
actually,
don't buy out of Notre Dame. Buy out of Notre Dame.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is like. Next year was a confluence of like, hey, it just so happened that the Big Ten expanded to these 4 teams, like all of a sudden, and the Big Ten West is gone, and everything happened a year or two sooner than we'd expect. Right?
And those 2 non-conference teams are basically the equivalent of 2 more Big Ten teams,
and they're at their peak, right? I mean, Notre Dame is always tough, but Oregon State is at its kind of modern peak of performance, right?
Yeah. Hopefully,
so
we go there, don't we? Don't we go there?
Yes.
Because they came to Purdue a couple years ago. That was Purdue got them right up before their upswing, on their upswing.
So they probably can't even buy out of that game. I mean, or I don't know. I don't understand that.
And you would never do that. No. You would never.
And Purdue doesn't do that. That's the other thing. They
I wouldn't
want the way Purdue's athletic department works. But for future reference, Mike, don't do this again because. I mean, do everything you can.
Let's get the Ball States and Toledo's back on the schedule.
Holy moly! What's so bad about that? What's so bad about having a game or two where
IU still starts 3-0 every year? They know what to do.
At least you have a fun night for the fans. I mean, my goodness.
I like all we're looking for now is a fun night.
Give yourself some AJs fireworks after, and I'm like, wee.
Get some AJs.
Yeah.
Get to the game. Wear your home field.
Oh.
Or you can wear wear all of our sponsors. It's
exactly.
All of our historic sponsors. You can go back to when major car dealerships used to sponsor the Bowen Sports Handsome Hour.
Rorman was a big sponsor of
the
first couple of years.
Big donor. That's how we've got this endowment.
Man. So all right, let's. You know what I still don't understand before I look ahead is how the hell did Purdue...
Cellular phones? They're very difficult.
ATMs.
It turns your voice into ones and zeros. It shoots at the satellite, turns it back to the phone, and then it turns it back to your voice.
All instantaneously. That's the thing. It doesn't take any time to get there and get back.
Wow,
it's amazing how fast it goes. I hate both of you so much. No, I was going to say I don't understand how they beat the shit out of Illinois so badly. I don't understand.
Yeah, well, because
it's the same team.
Well, the reason that Illinois was good might have been because of half of the coaches that we have on our staff. And so it is, and it's not like the coach over there is going to, change anything and out scheme the guy that we have, right?
Yeah, but didn't they just turn around and beat somebody legitimate?
Yeah, because you can beat somebody legitimate and that's fine.
Yeah, they beat Maryland on the road. And then they barely lost to Wisconsin.
We want to run quickly around the Big Ten, boy. Maryland, there is nobody in the league that you're just like, how do you have that much talent and do what you do?
I mean, speaking of teams take a full nosedive in the second half of the season, man,
this is what they do, right? This is a Maryland trait.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Maryland's like a slightly better IU. They start hot, and then you're like, oh, maybe, and then
they've been years of eligibility to Tunga Viola have left.
I think 3 or 4 more years. I think.
By the way, they just lost. I forgot this till you just brought that up. They lost to Northwestern.
Yeah. Northwestern looks inspired, guys.
Northwestern's
That's not
4-4.
good.
Oh, hey, are you
Northwestern's
telling me?
4-4.
Are you telling me that Pat Fitzgerald might have been the thing holding them back? My God.
Well, I'm not saying that.
What?
Listen,
What?
I'm not going to ever say that.
They went 1 and.
I'm not going to
Didn't they
revise
win
history.
11
I
last year?
liked Fitzgerald before I knew all the bad stuff was happening. I thought he was a
I think a lot of people did.
I think he was
A
a
lot of people
great
did.
preparer of a program. It's funny, you look at that team because I watched that game and I was like, man, compare the thoroughbreds over on the Maryland sideline to the Northwestern players. Oh my gosh, dude. He was squeezing everything out of that program. And I think the coach now, man, he's doing it again.
Well, last year they won 1 game, so let's not act like he squeezed that much out.
Fitzgerald and the transition to this year is my perfect response. Every time anybody says, well, Iowa can't win without Kirk Ferentz, how could they put together a winning program? They can. Just there are a whole bunch of good coaches out there that can inspire their way.
But Manish, that's what happens when you have 2 coaches in 60 years. You begin to believe, nobody could do it except because you've never seen anybody else do it. So you don't believe it's possible. But of course it's possible. It's still a Division I Big Ten job and a team that, for all their craptasticness, probably could make the playoff in the expanded universe.
I mean, you're a Big Ten team. Like, you could still.
That's what I'm saying.
You
But they're a Big Ten team that
Niche
has climbed to the top 5 multiple times in the last 7-8 years, right? Like, so, right? Like you're set up for that. It's not like it's not possible there. They're what Nebraska wishes they were. In your face, Nebraska.
Well, they won the Big Ten.
There are people that have been clamoring for you to go off on Nebraska for weeks because it hasn't really.
The bye week, clogged up some of the jokes.
I said last time we talked that there wasn't enough to, like Rule has done a serviceable job. He's getting them back on track for the cesspool dumpster fire they had become. Mm-hmm. This is a pretty good, especially, what do they start? 0-2? So they're 5-1 since then.
Really
this is really remarkable. I don't take that away.
The issue with Rule. That's the thing. You can talk. And
he's the kind of guy that you get. He's the kind of guy that gets hired, and you're like, we're gonna have to find a way to hate this guy. Frost, it was easy, right?
Right.
But more than any of that, it was rarely ever the coach that I disliked there. It was the sense of entitlement, the delusional fans. Greg McManus was telling stories, and you saw it in the sidebar if you're looking there, about they were starting F Purdue chants, and they were gathering at the exits and insulting Purdue fans. I don't want to hear. And Anish and I dealt with Nebraska fans at Purdue last year. Yeah. They're awful. And it's never fair to judge an entire fan base by one bad experience. I would totally agree. However, I think all of us have experienced Penn State fans and said, not bad. Never had a bad experience with them. Never obnoxious. Right. Wisconsin fans, no one said a word when we were in that game, right? Now, are there bad ones? Of course.
Yes.
But when every one of your experiences of people who go to a lot of games are these guys are douchebags, it's true. It's sometimes the, Occam's razor. The most obvious answer is probably the right one. Yep. They're lousy fans. They're delusional. They have not won anything in so long. They have fallen far behind programs like Purdue. I'm sorry. I know people don't believe me when I say that. Purdue has won more games than them over the better part of a decade. Like, when does it start to count? When does it matter?
We got the ISO running.
Yeah,
we got the ISO running.
I love it.
Okay, so they're 5-3. Now look at the rest of their schedule. How many wins are they going to have? So in one Purdue down year, and that's all you can call it now. I know you're worried about next year.
I am.
Oh, and you have a right to be, but we're not there yet. Right. We don't know what's going to happen next year. And we don't know what's going to happen for Nebraska.
We don't know what's going to happen next week. That's the thing. We
know what's going to happen next week. We don't know what's going to happen the following week.
Spoilermakers, bro.
I
hate it. I hate the Spoilermaker moniker.
I love that you hate it so much because it's so fair to hate. It's so fair to hate.
Hey, we suck, but every now and again we beat an okay team. That's what you want to be.
Well, I will also
back to the bad old days.
Since Greg right now, I've lured Greg McManus and he's like, I'm one of them. He loves me. I'm going to turn the tables on Greg right now because on Twitter, Okay, we'll read Greg's. Greg said, I have enough negative experiences. I keep getting told we're not all like that, where you put 2 and 2 together. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So you have one bad experience after another, and people are like, no, but not everybody. Just those 500 people you've talked to. Like, that's a trend line, dude. So, no, but I want to throw it back at Greg, because on Twitter today, he actually said he wouldn't be surprised at all if Purdue went out and beat Michigan. I said, you wouldn't be surprised at all, Greg?
Oh,
you wouldn't be surprised at all?
I would be surprised.
No, his point was that's like Purdue kind of thing to do. I know what he's getting at. I know what he's getting at. He's saying it would be just like Purdue to at this point. Now, the difference, though, I will say, if you're thinking back to, say, like the 1-5 Danny Hope team that terrorized Terrell Pryor and beat Ohio State, remember that team was not as bad as a 1-5 record. Remember that? That was the season that started with the loss up at Oregon and a loss to Notre Dame in the last minute.
Was that an overtime loss, or was that?
Yes, and I think it was overtime. And then they wound up 5-7. And I remember Newbert saying, I love this line. He said that was a bowl team that just didn't get to go to a bowl. He was like, they were really a lot better than things fell for them. And my point of that is, whenever a team that's, like the 5 years ago, the Tyler Trent night, I know everyone's like, oh, it was an amazing night.
Yeah.
But Purdue wasn't that bad of a team. Purdue was like 4-4. They weren't bad.
Purdue was a good team. Purdue's a good team.
Right. Purdue's bad right now. So when you talk about how it would be the most Purdue thing ever, you could see some of those wins on their way, right? Maybe you didn't predict them, but when they beat Michigan State a couple years ago, that was a soft Michigan State that was number 2. Remember? When they beat Iowa.
And they proved it. They weren't what
Iowa was also soft.
Iowa was soft at 3 or whatever they were. And Purdue has fun with Iowa, right? This is not that. Michigan is legitimately what? At worst, number 2 in the country?
All
3?
of the sign stealings.
At worst, they're 3. At
worst, they're the 3rd best team in the country.
So good,
and I say that regardless of really if they were to lose to Ohio State. Like, they are so scary.
Good. Right.
And you made a point in your quick cast, which I hadn't even thought about. You said a team that's been now facing this and was off. So they didn't get a chance to take this out on anyone.
They've just been brewing up.
And now they're prime time.
Curdling up the anger.
And it's prime time.
It's prime time. Like Boiler Dad also said in his quick cast, everybody was complaining about Peacock.
Congrats.
You get awarded on Peacock a couple.
Now you're on NBC, national game, my friend.
What's the spread right now? 33, is that right?
30.5, I think.
Started in the high 20s, and now it's
not good. It's not what you want.
The
spread is higher than the over-under in the Iowa Northwestern.
I was going there.
That's
very good. Very
That's
good.
Incredible.
Nice job, Jay.
I would like us to have a moment of silence for Brian Ferentz, whose watch has ended.
Man.
I love fun moments.
Guys,
so good question
again,
a moment ago. Do you think the way this is handled, clearly Ferentz must have had a conversation with the AD and the administration. I'm not going to fire my son. And they said, well, then we'll do it. Do you think
he doesn't report to him?
But they stepped in, right?
No. He doesn't report. Brian does not report to him. So I don't think theoretically he can fire him. Weirdly, as that sounds.
What?
Correct.
Didn't he hire him?
No, Ryan. Nepotism rules mean he has to report to the athletic director.
Oh, this is the best part of it.
Okay.
This has always been the case.
So it still doesn't change anything for me. The bad taste in the mouth.
I'm sure they. Yeah.
So what's going to happen is like we said, it's going to be a 10 win season for Iowa.
Sure.
We talked about that. It's going to be a 10 win season for Iowa. Everyone's already said your son's an idiot. You got to run him out. And he's like, okay, I can't do that. Okay. But he's not happy. He does not want to run his son out.
No.
Is this it then? Do you think he retires after this season?
I think there's a good chance of that. Yes.
I do too. And then Bert goes to Iowa.
I don't know why you think that. I mean, I'd love it, but I don't know why you think
he's
that.
He's got an Iowa tattoo, man.
Right.
Does
Do
he?
you know that?
What?
Yes, he's got an Iowa tattoo. He's got a Hawkeye on his arm, right? Arm?
Come on.
Or leg or something like that.
Yeah. It's
one of them. They're all the same.
That must be
width.
a big freaking Hawkeye tattoo.
Oh, it's getting bigger.
It's like a really sad, droopy Hawkeye.
Exactly. It used to be a neck tattoo, and now it's on his chest. It's not down.
Well, the thing about this, though, that's so amazing to me is that Iowa, like, did you read between the lines in the statement? So Barta puts this ridiculous thing together publicly, right?
Yeah.
Which we all knew was stupid. Now, we loved it because screw Iowa, but it's so just humiliating to do that to him, right? Like, it's unnecessary. It draws weird. And so the woman who's the interim AD says, she mentioned the undue attention this is put on our
Right.
I love the shot at Barta because it's like, what were you doing, you dumbass? If you want to get rid of him, get rid of him. If you want to put a clause in, I guess you can't put it in because it's a public thing at a public university, right? You can't not tell people about that. But you could put it in verbally, couldn't you? Couldn't you say, look, dude, I'm going to leave. I'm going to cut you loose if this doesn't happen.
And hear me out here. I know this
this
is a little, this is
going to be crazy talk.
It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
What if leaders took accountability?
No, we don't do that anymore.
It's just, I mean, what if they were to say, hey, you're not doing good. I am making this decision now. Or if they said,
or if
don't you agree it's a little tough?
Hey, I screwed up.
Keep
and
winning?
they admitted something was bad.
Or if they just said,
guys.
hey, I'm okay with this decision, he stays. What if there was some sort of accountability instead of trying to thread this needle, make everybody happy, and cede all leadership? But I was told that all CEOs and all leaders and all of these leaders of men have earned their millions of dollars.
Right.
And at the end, they are the ones that have to make these difficult decisions where the one who ended up having to actually, and I will give Iowa this much credit, the one who actually did make the decision was a female athletic director in the Big Ten, the only, I think, female athletic director in the Big Ten who is an interim right now.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Gary Barta was here screwing up Iowa, or at least maybe not, in terms of records, but screwing up Iowa's culture for 25 years. And he was not responsible for any of this. It's the same. Oh, man.
Brian Ferentz has been on the football staff there since he was 29 years old.
Right. He's a good offensive line coach.
He was implicated in the whole racism thing, and it just went away. It was just, nope. We're not even going to address
out
it.
of town on the weight lift, the strength coach.
But he was the other guy. It was Brian and that guy,
right.
And somehow we just forget about it because he's so good at his job. Like,
so this is
29. He got a job there.
The thing about the Michigan thing that bothers me is not the sign stealing. I don't care. Whatever. I mean, it's bad.
You really don't care. You read more than me.
It's a bizarre story, and they should be punished for it. This is the kind of stuff that I don't really care about. Like, if they get punished, they probably should. If they don't get punished, whatever. The Big Ten has done enough damage.
Stories.
The Big Ten has done enough human damage that this is the stuff that I don't.
This is what it's done. Is it's desensitized you. There were two guys on the halftime of the Purdue game. I don't even know who these clowns were. It was Fox. What were they on FS1? There was two knuckleheads, and they were talking about this sign stealing. And they were really coming at it from I can't believe everyone's making such a big deal about this.
No, that's not what I said. No, that's not what I said. It's a big deal, and it's cheating, and it's not. It's like when you're playing on an uneven playing field. That is a problem.
That's the issue.
Right?
I wasn't saying you did that. I'm crediting those people with doing it.
My thing here is I don't punish them or not. It's not going to really my life isn't going to exactly. It's just like vacating wins from Kansas's season 6 years ago because
that's what's going to happen. That's my.
You know what I mean?
Michigan will be found guilty in this investigation after they've either won the national title or
which is why none of it
becomes
it's
the
just
Big Ten champs.
The entire
Purdue's national champs actually by
correct.
By proxy.
The entire process of it becomes like so meaningless to me because it's like the NCAA can't.
They can't do it. They won't. I mean,
they're not going to do. They haven't done this in the past. They're not going to do it in the future. So I choose not to care about this. What I do care about is the sentence Jim Harbaugh didn't know.
Yeah.
And it's like, so what is the money for? Like, so
Pat Fitzgerald didn't know either, man.
What's the titles for? What's the power for? What's the reputation as leader of men? You know how Pat Fitzgerald made a lot of his money selling leadership books.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like doing these like leadership clinics. Yeah. Oh, that's how you let the 18-year-olds that parents trust to be around you over there. But yeah, sure, get paid millions to go for the speaker circuit. The thing that bothers me isn't the cheating, because football is meaningless. The thing that bothers me is that people credibly actually saying that Jim Harbaugh didn't know, so how can you hold him responsible? And it's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that whole argument fell apart so quickly though when he said, I don't even, there's no connection. He said something,
It
kind of
doesn't
throw it
matter.
away. And then you're like, there are 1,000 pictures of him standing next to you and you guys leaning in like you're about to kiss. So something's awry here, Jim.
If he didn't know about it, and it is the facts of the matter are the way that they are, it falls on the leader of the program.
Right.
Those are the breaks. You want to be the leader, this is what you get.
Make $8 million.
You hire your son, who is the kind of ringleader or the number 2 for a racism scandal in your locker room. You take the fall for it. You don't send the strength coach away and have your son protected. You take the fall. But Kirk didn't know. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just, I mean, we can go back. We can say we can name the Big Ten teams now, but these are the 2 present examples, and it's just like, what are we doing?
But Anish, it's not even just that's been used at all levels of every organization, up to the presidency of the United States. They didn't know, plausible deniability. You could go even deeper though and show how we protect these leaders of men. I had a Penn Stater this weekend still make the argument to me that Joe Paterno did what he was supposed to do. He told his boss. You were told a guy was raping children, and you told your boss, and then that was it. That was the extent of your obligation. Nothing else. Because you did that, you now had no other responsibilities. There's an acknowledgement that he knew and still had done enough.
Your obligation for any of this does not extend to your duty, your what is written on the page, whether you knew or not. It extends to the power that you hold.
Right.
If you are
you can stop it immediately.
So let's take the Sandusky thing and Paterno thing, put it in a different box. For Kirk Ferentz, is it not plausible that at certain points, in certain ways, he is the most powerful person in that state when it comes to things under his control, that nobody holds veto power if he wants something for his athletic or for his football program. He's the most powerful person in that state. So if he has this racism and this sexual abuse scandal that happens in this racial abuse, violence, and sexual harassment scandal that happens in his scandals that happen in his locker room, how can you also claim plausible deniability there? It doesn't matter if you have it. Your duty extends. Yeah. Your duty extends not to your station and not to whatever they say, oh, he's only the head coach of a football program. It extends to the peak of your power. And the peak of his power is quite high. The peak of Jim Harbaugh, even though this doesn't really, really matter, right? It's nowhere close in that conversation.
But it matters if you care about competitive balance, Anish.
I'm not saying that it's immaterial.
Yeah, you're not ruining lives. I understand.
I'm not saying it's immaterial, but don't come to me with that. And even in this, that's what I'm saying. Don't come to me with that, even in this case, which I don't necessarily consider the end of the world. But because then it allows you to come to me with he didn't know when it is for
something more important. Yeah, right? Yeah, of course.
That's the only reason why this is just infuriating to me.
It bothers me when how about the Houston Astros? When you're already good and you blatantly cheat and tip the playing field. The reason people like competitive sports, whether it's pro or college, is because the outcome is not known, because it's not pro wrestling, because people aren't cheating. There's at least some semblance. Yeah. Can you try to steal signs on the go? Of course. If you pick something up, whether they do this, a guy's hand is in the dirt. There was a video that was going around that I highly encourage you guys find, Ryan. If you never saw this, there was a thing where Manning, one of Peyton's places, was with Deion, and seeing Deion Sanders talk about the stuff he would notice that other players did. It's like savant level. And any of those guys who are good at their jobs at that level were savants.
The Ed Reed story, right? Where it's like he was watching tape. He knew that if he was, so he faked Peyton. He did a shoulder move where Peyton scouted him. So he did the thing and then reversed it. It's like these are
chess.
Genius.
That's chess. Yeah.
But I mean, I'm saying, like, if you pick that stuff up, that's the gamesmanship that's allowed. When you cheat like in a way that's like expressly forbidden for years and years
How about
and years.
you cheat in a way that there is money being moved around within your budget into the six figures to make the scheme work?
Right.
That to me, so I've talked to this a number of people about this. Say, what's the big problem? Sign stealing exists. I'm like, the big problem is if you think this is not a big deal, you give the guy a title, right? Maybe it sounds politically correct and it's savvy. It's some sort of technology, counter, something coach, right? And you bring it to the light. This is what we've got. This is what we do. We know it's fine. We know other people are doing it. We're just going to do it. And we've got a budget line that says, okay, he's gonna need some, to do his job. He's gonna need extra money, right? But that's not what was happening. It was, we're gonna secretly give money for tickets. We're gonna have him hire people randomly throughout the country to help with this job. That to me, it's so ugly. It is so big and it's so underhanded. And then it gets weirder with that guy and what his
when it comes to
yeah.
the on the field stuff, it's like this is not competitive anymore, right? I mean, it's to that level, it's bad. Now you can't tell me that it doesn't matter, like, or that people within an organization can't know. They know everything.
Yes.
And whether they don't know the details or not, the infrastructure for everything exists.
They know. They're
so
control
don't ever
freaks,
give me that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing that really
The
bothers
thing
me now.
so to go back about 15 minutes.
Playoff, though. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's the thing. They're going to go to the. That's why I'm not really hung up on this, because it's like the NCAA is not going to punish them. Nobody's really going to do anything about it. They're going to end up in the playoff because they're sign stealing.
But this whole chapter ends is Harbaugh goes back to the NFL, which he's been flirting with anyway, and he's got lots of offers. This is real simple. It's tidy up. Everybody that was connected to him leaves the campus.
Where do you think the number one job that he will offer this off season is what he'll get? What do you think, Boilered Out?
Like how much money or what?
No, the team.
The best offer.
It was a little easier last year.
The most natural offer for Jim Harbaugh, if it's not the Indianapolis Colts.
That's what I see. Last year was easier.
Right? J Money, the Chicago Bears. Yes. You're correct. Yeah. Who is the GM of operations for the Chicago Bears?
I know this, but I'm forgetting right now.
Kevin Warren, the guy that hates him from the Big Ten. So I'm not too sure that the NFL is going to be a decent landing spot for him.
Well, I don't think
he's got lots of places that.
Didn't they just bring in Eberflus for this season? Isn't he brand new?
Yeah, they're 2 seasons ago, and they're probably done.
Yeah, they're done with him.
Yeah,
they're done with him
because they're a stable organization.
Right. Well run.
I mean. But there's always a lot of jobs. The Giants might be open. I mean, who knows?
I mean, there are a good amount of jobs. We'll see if it's there. But again, yeah, we know how this ends. He's probably going to end up with a nice NFL job somewhere. He's going to end up with a nice, something, or he's just going to end up back in Michigan.
Right. And I mean, he got a third of this season off. And it hasn't affected anything. Because
sign steal. That's the other thing, is that sign stealing or not, this team is awesome. And it's like, how insane are you that you are putting this team at risk? This team that he has,
that's my point,
credit, put together.
These good teams that cheat in sports, it's like you're already good. It's Barry Bonds again. You're already a Hall of Famer, and then you decide to cheat.
And the stories of what Barry Bonds was before he started cheating. That's the amazing thing. There are all these people talk about how great of a hitter he was, right? He already had tools that nobody else had.
Yes.
I mean,
he's like, you know what? I just need a little bit more.
In his Pittsburgh days, he probably was already a Hall of Famer. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well,
the story about the reason he did it was because in '98 he was that player. He was that good, and he watched McGuire and Sosa get all that attention. Uh-huh. Every story is that he saw that and was like, "Screw it! Wait till you see what I will do."
Right.
If I juice up. And I can't fault that logic because baseball wasn't stopping anything.
Right.
So his point was, I'll hit 70 plus home runs if I do that. And he did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean,
but that's more on baseball than anything else.
Well, there's an interesting, I don't know if you guys heard the interesting wrinkle of the Michigan thing, how it gets blown up. There's a third party that was already investigating before the NCAA was involved. And the question is, who hired that third party? Holy moly, is this fun?
It's
like there
Big
is
10.
so much stuff that you're
That's
like.
why it's probably Big Ten office. It's probably Big Ten office.
It could be Big Ten office. It could be the deep coffers at Ohio State.
Yeah.
I mean, holy moly, there's a lot of
but isn't that part of the thinking? Is that's one of the reasons they whipped up on Ohio State?
Yes, it's part of the whole thing.
Because they were showing. I saw some clips. Did you see those clips of the sideline during the Ohio State game? Well, they're standing looking, and when they change the play, they're like, "Here's what they're doing."
They all know, and he's got a signal, and everybody jumps in and helps out.
But to Jay's point earlier,
the good news is they don't have to do that with Purdue because you and I can tell what's going to come in the next play.
The thing on that play where they kind of pointed up, I'm pretty sure Ohio State scored on that play, and so that and Michigan still won. This is the thing. It's like these teams are awesome. What are you doing?
But Michigan had been pounded by Ohio State every year. And then all of a sudden they dominated 2 years in a row. And everyone was like,
the timeline matches up perfectly.
How did they turn the corner like that?
It's wild.
Maybe that's what James Franklin should do. Anyway.
James Franklin sucks.
Maybe that he doesn't though. He doesn't.
But he does. But
he doesn't.
And you and Penn State fans, I don't know why you're included in that.
No, Penn State fans don't like him. No, Penn State fans.
I talked to Penn State fans and they're like, yeah, worth the money. No, not worth the money. He's not that good.
Oh, worth the money. No, but he's a Jimmy Sexton client. Jimmy Sexton clients are never worth the money. That is what it is.
That's what we should all get Jimmy Sexton.
We should get him to represent this. Yes, exactly.
We would be doing a little bit better. So let me go back 25 minutes now and say the thing that should have happened. Okay. Cause you said something, you started this thing. I thought you were just going to say you shouldn't hire your son if he's not capable to take a job.
No, I would never say that. You should always hire your son.
Always hire your son.
Even if
he's ready for the job or not.
Especially if he's not capable.
Right. Because that's the whole thing. That's the root of the problem at Iowa, right? I mean, like this is the whole thing. And then the next thing is don't cheat, right? These are all like, then that gets into responsibility, do the right thing. Shit, man. I mean, these are basics, but the nepotism piece at Iowa is when did Brian Ferentz start as offensive coordinator at Iowa? I know the answer.
17, maybe 17.
Because that was their Ohio State win, like their big Ohio State win,
right? But that's a long time of sucking on one side.
Right.
That's the whole point.
He's been on staff 11 years.
Let's say for a second, Jay, little money gets the job. You know, you to hand the empire, the J Money empire over, right? You're like, sure. I think you can do it, and you give it to him. And after a year or two, you're like, oh, turns out you can't.
Give him another 8.
Exactly. Another contract. Here we go. Yeah. So we're supposed to here. I want to talk about basketball.
Yeah.
Let's. Hey,
I didn't do that.
Hey, easy with your thumbs down emoji.
You know, normally we joke about Purdue fans overreacting to things, and everyone was doing it on Twitter. They were like, "Oh, I'm gonna be crazy about a preseason." Everyone was like, "Har har har! I'm gonna be so crazy." And then you all did it too. Then you all really acted like insane people. Do you all realize that they've been having these scrimmages in October? They've been doing this for years, and you never got to see what happened, much like most people because it was on SEC Plus. But you didn't get to see what happened. So you had no reason to be freaking out then, and you don't now either. Purdue
Remember when they lost the scrimmage at home to Huggy? Like, because
not really, because we didn't get to see it.
But that's why that's why Painter makes friends with these coaches. Mick Cronin, when he was at Cincy, he brings in these insane coaches intentionally. Muss's defenses. He didn't. I think they did Did they do one with Tennessee or no? I don't. Either way,
I think they might have. That sounds familiar, but I think you're just thinking it because they play Barnes in the preseason every year. They play them in the pre-con,
maybe
like every year
in all those tournaments. Yeah,
yeah. And then in the tournament too. Like, why not? Let's play.
Painter always does this. He picks these long athletic teams because he knows that no matter what iteration of the team that he's building, that's what's going to win in the tournament. He's trying something. It's fine. None of this is really predictive.
If you were to make the Sweet 16, that's the kind of team you'd probably have to play. What they should be doing is doing pre-con against like the MAAC teams and work on that. Like, do some practices against that. Beat them by 70.
I like that idea. A team that's say going to be 14-16 in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah. 14.
Yeah.
Because he's already hit 15 and 16. No,
Right.
he
Boiler-
hasn't hit 15. No, yeah, he has.
15 was St. Peter's. Why are you making me relive this? Why is that in there?
14 and 10. It's 14 and 10.
they got too. North Texas was a 14, dude.
What was?
Yeah.
What are the numbers then?
I think
Is
it's
it
12,
13?
12 and 11.
13 and
Or
10?
13. I don't think he has a 13.
Yeah, 13 and 10. Lucky 13.
No. Arkansas Little Rock was a 13.
Yeah,
If I
have
get all
this
these
in a
right in East,
spreadsheet.
this is another thing that shouldn't.
You guys do know that St. Peter's is playing Fairleigh Dickinson in a game because of the tournament success against Purdue, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the Painter coach.
No, it's go look on the Twitter feed. Our Twitter feed.
That was my joke, Anish, and I am. Not
I know, it's a great joke. It's
the Painter coaching tree. Look at these guys getting paid thanks to Matt Painter.
I put it on there. I said Matt Painter, Kingmaker, because these two programs are on a national televised game because they beat Purdue.
My thing is though, that freaking FDU coach is such a dingbat. All of the other ones, like Shaka, is very good.
Right.
Shaka's a great coach, yeah.
What's his name? The old Texas coach that beat Purdue twice. Beard. These are all
He's
legitimate.
a good man too.
These
are
all
great stand-up guy.
Stand-up guys, stand-up human.
I'm glad he's getting another chance.
Exonerated.
Exactly.
Doing his time at Auburn.
This
low-level school.
Dingbat. Like I could be proven wrong. I'm sure
He's the Iona dingbat now. Put some respect on his name.
Oh man, I know. That's the one.
So on the subject of basketball, Bugle Boy over there on the right side says 13 missed threes in a row, 20 turnovers. I'm spooked. Now the turnovers, guys, it's October. I don't care about that. But Boiler Dad, I would like you to speak about not hitting threes because I think I don't know if you said this.
This is a bad shooting team.
Yeah, your point is.
Don't tell anybody. I've cracked the code. The team can't shoot. Guys, go back and look at the statistics where they were in the conference. They're not that good of a shooting team. And it doesn't matter what Brian Newbert tells you. Don't believe it until the numbers show it.
How dare you? I believe
you can say I love Brian Newbert. You can say all you want that this team's awesome in practice. You can say I love the ability of some of these guys to light it up when they're playing themselves. Okay. It doesn't matter because when they get into games, they're just not that good of a team. What they're good at is running an efficient offense. Let's talk about this here. And tell me if you guys see anything that might be a little fishy. They're really good at running efficient offense. They're really good at having guys know where they're supposed to be on the court. Last year, remember Painter said, we don't need to change much. We just need to get better, right? I'm not misquoting too badly, I don't think.
Right.
Okay. But a team that's really good at guys knowing what to do, when to do it, how to, another thing they're really good at, Zach Edey doesn't foul, right? Okay. Now, Painter said, I'm just here for the experience. I love the fact we get to go in a hostile environment, get this out of the way, get used to it right now. Okay. Is it possible? I'm just going to spitball that he screwed with the lineup so badly.
Oh, wow. What?
That he messed around with it and said, I don't give a crap about this game.
What?
Yeah. And he said, we're going to dig some holes in this game, and then we're going to see how we can crawl out of them and how we deal with a horribly hostile crowd. That is even more hostile than a Big Ten crowd because it's like 100% opponent. There is not a wedge of your people there, right? What an excellent test of just kind of the psyche in the metal. And then the next part. This is
they were winning in the final 90 seconds.
Yes. I know.
Dad, these are all ridiculous.
These are silly things. Okay, here's one more silly thing. I just got these silly things. They just float around my head. Zach Edey, of course, didn't foul. He was one of the best players in the nation for an entire year. And even if you go back towards halfway through the previous season, very good about not fouling, going straight up and down. Refs see that. They respect it. And by the way, I don't know if you guys, do you know if a guy wins National Player of the Year, does he get respect from the refs or does he
usually gets a little more?
He gets he gets the friendly whistle, right? Mm-hmm. But oddly enough, he earned 5 fouls versus Arkansas. Is there a possibility that Musselman and Painter said, yeah, go eliminate Edey. Let's see how we handle that one. I'm going to throw all this bull crap at him, right? I already know my team can't shoot. I know that, right? Let's just see how it goes. Because guess what? It doesn't count. And is there any possibility that, 3 of the top 5 teams lost in pretend games, that all these teams were saying the same thing?
Yeah.
The the team that is the hunted says, okay, we want this. And the team that's hunting is like, we've got everything to gain. Seems pretty.
It works for them too, because you want to feel better.
It works
about
for
your team.
everybody.
Yeah.
Yes. And now you've got teaching points. All these coaches
Musselman
are
can
smart.
say, you guys
There's
beat that team.
There's nothing that makes Matt Painter happier than a non-conference loss that he can chew his team out about.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's softened as he's gotten older. You know what I mean? As he's settled into his Purdue tenure here, and all he wants are these just reasons to obsess over those details and like proof that. So last year the team started off with not sky high expectations, and they were the hunter that kind of overachieved, and Zach Edey emerged into this player that we all knew he was capable of being a great player. I don't think any of us were coming into the season knowing that he would be, by January, he was the consensus player of the year.
No.
I mean, like it beyond our wildest dreams, right?
Yep.
This year, Purdue is in a very different position. And so, yes, maybe TKR, who's a center, isn't going to play that many minutes with Edey. Maybe Edey, and watching the game, Edey was in defensive positions that were a little bit strange. Mm-hmm. He was actively defending the pick and roll. Mm-hmm. He was a little bit further out from the paint. Again, this might be Painter trying to test him as he develops skills for the next level, which are things that he's going to need. But also, it's just because test it out. See, none of this matters.
Not? Yeah. Did you guys notice in the post-game interviews, it looked like they're in somebody's basement? Am I the only one that thought that was weird? I don't understand that. There was like a TV on the wall and some pictures and a couch.
Arkansas is a bootstrap SEC program.
It's like a 19,000 seat arena, right?
They don't really have the facilities.
They don't have the money. Yeah,
no,
exactly.
No, they don't have the facilities.
They're putting all that into tutors, I'm sure.
By the way, Musselman, I did not know they had that picture that one of you tweeted out, like sent to the group chat. I didn't realize that he's like 5'6", 5'7".
Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, like he's
a slight 5'7". That's what I say. He doesn't have
exactly like you. You were right. Boiler Dowd's got the juice to him. Look at him. Look at him. He's deadlifting. Is what. I'm
not gonna get moved around by a breeze. That's not gonna happen. That's
but Musselman has those shirtless celebration moments, which is very strange.
I would love for Painter to do that.
Here's the deal.
I bet Painter would not.
One of us.
A Final Four, and we force Painter to do a shirtless celebration, a Musselman shirtless celebration.
I still think Matt Painter could beat you to within an inch.
Oh my gosh, he's got heavy hands, and then he'll barbecue me slowly and deliciously.
He's got heavy hands, the hands of a plumber. Can you imagine getting like bodied by him in his practice?
Oh no!
I bet that dude can still like more than probably when he played.
It's like Kung Fu Panda, man. It's like Kung Fu Panda. It's like when your punches kind of just bounced off. It just doesn't work.
How about a Coach Brantley, Coach Painter one-on-one game?
Oh, Brantley.
A lot of man.
Gotta go Brantley in that.
That is a lot of
one
man.
of them where it's like, oof, man. Yeah. That dude professionally like coaches up Edey, which means that
Do you think that ever happens where these guys are like, let's shoot around a little?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, shoot around? Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, I would think though. I know Painter will shoot around, but I don't think he'll ever get into like a contact version of the game. I think he's talked about that. I just
stays above that.
Right.
There's nothing worse than you're in your mid 50s and you snap your Achilles because
it's
just like
there was a coach. Remember that coach in the tournament who
Von Hunter? Do I remember that coach?
Wasn't it his Achilles?
And it was when
IUPUI, right?
He had it, and then his kid, who was the star of that Georgia State team, hit a game-winning 3, and he fell off it, formerly of IUPUI, and he fell off of his little roller, and it was so good. It was so good. This is why the tournament's the best. I mean, like those are the moments that make him the best.
Well, so am I at the same place you guys?
Hold on, I'm the BS fact checker because, of course, I have this in a spreadsheet that is easily accessible. The 11 seed was VCU, the 12 was Arkansas Little Rock, the 13 was North Texas, 15 was St. Peter's, and 16 was Farley Dickinson. So it's 10 and 14.
So it's work to be done.
10's very doable because if you're the 2, you play
10
the
is
10 in
fun.
the second round.
10 is what it is. If you're,
So-
if you're the 6, you play. Like
Right.
you could
Well,
get
6
there.
plays 11
Or 3.
animal.
You know what I mean?
7
But
plays
like you could
10.
end up there in the second round. First round, you're right. You've got to,
They don't have to be first round, right? The 15 wasn't a first round.
There
It
are
was this
levels.
freaking Sweet 16.
There are levels to this, yes.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, there are the 3-point shooting thing is like a worry, like meaning like
It's going to be there. That's
at
not
this
going
point.
away.
They're a good practice 3-point shooting team. They're not a
Right.
good in-game 3-point shooting
Right.
team, and you have to see an extended period against high-level competition
Right.
to show that otherwise. Sure, you can point to Mason Gillis 2 years ago shooting 50% from 3. Sure, you can point to Fletcher Lawyer in the first 10 games of last season
Right.
being an above 35% 3-point shooter. But at this point, the longer arc of all of this is that they're not that great. They're not that great in game.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens when, more than the press and more than any of that, what happens when you get into these tight moments? And I think taking Arkansas into overtime, like still be like having Zach Edey in foul trouble, and also they didn't go to him that much. You look at his usage rate; they didn't go to him as much as they do. As much
Maybe
as they
Painter
will.
forgot he was good.
Oh, really?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he isn't Painter not that bright? Does he not know?
No,
basketball?
he's
Okay.
a savant. That's one thing. You can say whatever you want about Painter. When he starts talking about anything that he likes, he can recall everything about it. It's
Painter was asked about like a back or a recent guard transfer on Arkansas on a guy that they played in a preseason exhibition not celebrity scrimmage. What am I trying to say? Charity
fundraiser.
scrimmage.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, that kid, came from X, Y, and Z school. They had 12 points, averaged 12 points a game last year. The coach last year was talking about this, and this being them great. And Musselman's got him coached real well. And then like rattled off like 2 or 3 plays that they did in the game. And it's like, what in the world? What?
Yeah, he's amazing.
It would be so much easier if Painter were a
Right.
jerk.
Right.
It would just be great because then we could say, hey, this guy isn't
Time
doing
for a
it.
change.
It's time for a change. Bo Pelini, he's just a big jerk. None of us like him,
Right.
except
I think
he's
Bo
the most
Pelini can
likable,
coach basketball.
smartest guy. And all of the coaches, every other coach,
Did I
Musselman during his thing,
Yeah.
his post game was like, that's one of the best coaches in the league.
Did you guys watch
They
any
all
other?
love him.
Did you guys watch the other pretend games that were on TV?
A little bit.
Yeah,
Not
they were
much.
fun. They were
Not
fun.
much.
It's a
I'm
great-
fine.
Do you know
This is-
Kansas has a guy that looks just like Hunter Dickinson?
Does he play as Dirtily?
Yes.
He's
Yes.
a douchebag just
Dirtily.
like Hunter Dickinson.
Wow.
It's
Same
wild.
number and everything? That's
Yeah, he's like similar height.
That's
That's crazy.
Wild. That's
I
wild.
like
Same stupid, glossed over face.
Illinois and Kansas playing. There was before the game. A lot of I don't know if you saw. Like there was a lot of it's kind of neat. They had some stuff like the Izzo and Barnes were both being interviewed on the headsets during the game at the same time, so they were talking to each other, which was kind of fun. And then in the Illinois Kansas game, Self and Underwood were interviewed right before the game, side by side on the sidelines, and it was funny because the Illinois delusion seemed to have seeped into even the interview because they were like, Coach Self, what was it like being back in this arena? I saw you looking around. Coach Self doesn't give a shit about
No.
Illinois or that he
coaches-
coached there. He's the
coaches
Kansas coach. He's won 2
Kansas.
national titles. Shut up. Who cares? He does not care about you, Illinois.
I was
No one
waiting for a
does.
time that I could come here and see it. It looks just my face is in the
No.
lobby.
He doesn't care.
There are
Stop
few places that I want to go see a game, and I would admit are probably better arenas than Mackey. I don't
Fog
even
Allen.
think Cameron Indoor is
Fog.
on that one.
Fog
I
Allen.
don't
Fog
either. I don't
Allen
either.
is
Fog Allen,
just
definitely.
I mean,
That's my number one.
That to me is the
Oh,
one
I'd love to
where
see
it's
a game at Kansas.
Yeah. If only I had a really wealthy friend that I had a endeavor with that could buy me tickets and get me courtside.
Are you talking about Greg McManus?
That's right.
Yeah.
He's in the area. He's in the general tri-state.
Kansas and
area.
Nebraska are close enough. I
It's
mean, I
tri-state
don't.
area. You can
It's
just
like
call
they're
it-
right next to each other.
You can
We
call
can-
it,
And yet you
anything
can
to
still be
try.
1,000 miles apart. That's the
Right,
crazy
exactly.
thing.
It's still going to take you 15 hours to get there. It's going to be driving like blowing snow across the plain.
It's a prop plane. He takes a prop.
Regardless of what time of year, there's going to be
So
blowing.
it's the most segways and prop planes are the only ways that they get around. in those
That's
states.
it. Two means of travel.
I'm trying to think of where else in college basketball would be. I mean, I've never seen a
Did
game
anything for Pauley Pavilion or not really? I think it's a pit.
Yeah, I don't think it's very good.
It'd be cool, but again, it's like I'm a sucker for
we'll get
for
our
the
chance.
colors. I'm just a sucker for
We'll
all
get our
those.
chance.
Yeah, the John Wooden Classic, exactly. Because I know that you're not a huge
Rupp?
fan of
About
this
Rupp,
answer.
yeah.
I think Gonzaga, like
Dean Dome?
I'd like to see something there.
Gonzaga?
I'd like to see something there because again, it's just like Washington State. Why am I going to
You
go
just
there?
like chum the waters.
Right.
Gonzaga. You just knew what
I
you were
love
doing
it, man.
there. You knew what you were doing.
Gonzaga. What a hey, they're like, hey, guess what, Anish? They're flirting with a conference again.
It's going to be the ACC. Spoiler,
Maybe
it's
they're
going to
going
be
to
the
play a
ACC.
schedule during.
They're going to join the Big East. It's fine.
Well, tell me,
Conferences
you
mean
wake me up
Big
when it
East.
actually happens, and they stop flirting, and we actually get to see them play 2 good games in a row during a season. Not
play St.
one
Mary's
good
every
game.
year.
Wait a month
You
and a
beat them.
half and play another good team.
Of the Blue Bloods, though, Fog Island is the one to me.
Fog Island, maybe Rupp.
To me, it's the best.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to the Rack. I mean, obviously,
I've ever,
that's
I
like
mean,
number
that's
5
a
on most
royalty
people's
right there. And we've been to Philly, the
Palestra.
Palestra.
Thank you.
Very cool place.
That was cool. Like, I
It
mean,
is cool,
Very
but
cool. Very cool.
but it's not.
It wasn't what they made it out on TV. I can tell you guys. I was watching. I was like,
I mean,
down.
see,
It's
but the
neat.
other
It's
thing
neat.
is like growing up in Indy. Like I grew up on Butler's campus, and I grew up going to
Yeah,
Butler
Hinkle's
games
cool.
when they
Joe Hensley
couldn't
just
have
said that.
given it
Mhm.
away.
When
Like,
was the
yeah.
last time we played at Hinkle? I don't know that Purdue's ever played at Hinkle. I mean, I'm sure they have.
Hinkle's awesome, but again, and that's why it's like the Palestra is cool. But I grew up like going to Hinkle camps when you couldn't pay people to go to Butler's
Right,
campus when
right.
nobody knew what Butler was, right? And so it's like I've been to one except better. You know what I mean? Like I've been like
Yeah.
the Palestra's cool, but I grew up at better. So it's like, those type of arenas I've already seen the best. So I want to see the big ones.
Greg McManus says that new Kansas player's name is Dunter Hickinson. He also says Lawrence, Kansas is only 3 hours from Lincoln. So
Everything's only 3 hours.
that's why Lincoln's so wonderful. It's centrally located.
That's
So Nebraska's a great place to live. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. Where else would you want to see a game? That's a really interesting question because basketball should have more, and I find myself there's more college football places I would like to see.
I think you have different feelings about football versus basketball, though.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I think the game day Saturday means a little more to you than it does.
Then game day 9 p.m. Monday.
Right, exactly. I mean, I maybe if Purdue, I don't know, went to a Final Four, we'd have different feelings. I don't know.
And yet I follow this idiotic team wherever they go.
Absolutely.
I've left the country to watch them.
Right.
Went to the Bahamas to watch them.
Really slummed it too when you went there,
I've gone to Connecticut to watch them
which is like another country.
and New Jersey multiple times.
Yes.
Right down the road. They're coming back to the Rack this year. I'm really not sure I'm going to go.
No. The Rack is cursed. Rutgers
I don't
is
think
cursed.
That
Stay
doesn't
far
help
away.
us, Jay.
Stay far away.
I
Yeah,
don't
you're
think
the
there's any-
problem. Sure, there might be 10 other guys that could be part of the problem, but you're the main problem, Jay.
You're the ringleader of the
Yep.
problem. Yes.
Yep. So, well, good. I think we're all in a quorum that cancel all postseason. Purdue's probably not going to.
This season is going to be insanity. Every loss is going to be a complete
my
referendum, and every win is going to be meaningless because why not?
What a deal!
You know what I mean?
What a
Because
deal.
I'm gonna be driven.
Every
to
loss, I mean,
insanity.
that was great. That was well put. Every loss is a referendum. Every win is meaningless.
It's like what? This is what I'm saying. This
that's so
year is
good,
gonna
Anish.
kill me. And it's like, you know what? I can't say that anybody's wrong there. Like it's just. Yeah, there you go. We've got balloons. So relax, enjoy the ride. Hope Purdue takes more losses than they do last year, and hope they just look better in like going into the thing. But enjoy the ride, man. We could have a back-to-back player of the. He is favored to be the back-to-back player of the year. That's awesome. That's so cool.
I don't think he will win it just because I
don't
don't.
either.
It's not the same as the Heisman, but it's one of those things where no matter how good you are the second year, it feels like everyone's like, it's someone
It's a
else's
letdown.
turn.
Yeah.
We've seen this.
Well, I just think I just think it's hard to.
No,
you get
people
tired of
love
the same guy.
this shiny new object, right? I mean,
yeah, it's like LeBron not in his peak not always winning the MVP because it's like people were like, yeah, someone else should get it.
Oh, Derrick Rose is cute. Yeah,
right, exactly. Look at it. He can jump and do neat things in the air. That's awesome.
Chicago
fans like him.
Let's give it to him.
Yeah.
Right.
By the way, that was 13 years ago, and LeBron is still dunking like that.
He's a huge human being.
He's huge. He's so big.
Being.
I cannot emphasize.
How many? Anish, you're the only guy who I can ask about this. That is 2 more years for LeBron. This one and the next year.
I mean, he could do it. He could credibly play until his mid-40s. The question is, how long does he want to?
Right. How much can his ego take? Because he got de-pantsed in a game the other night. Did you see that? Where somebody faked him out and he kind of fell over, and like everybody on the bench was like, "Woo!"
Awesome. What I will say though is that I think this year is the last real title shot he has. Again, this one isn't. He doesn't have a great one, maybe because the top is so good, but they are one of the best teams in that next tier. And if you put LeBron in the playoffs on a good team like that,
sure.
I mean, it is what it is, right? But there are many listeners that have never been to an NBA game that we have, go just to see how unbelievably massive and fast these humans are.
I feel that way about a lot of pro sports. Seeing pro football at like field level is weird. You've heard people say it, and until you see it and hear it, it's very hard to describe. But basketball, I sat really close for a Knicks game a few years ago.
It's like terrifying.
The size of these humans with coordination. That's the weird. It's
change
almost
of direction.
Change of direction is. You're like, how does your body do that? Not just how big you are, but the fact that you can do things.
I make a weird noise when I sit down into a chair, and I'm 34 years old. You know what I mean? It's like I'm done playing the games of like, can you score 6 points in a game? It's like, no, I can barely run up and down the court.
Right.
He's huge. What are we talking about here?
38.
Yeah,
and
it's insane. It's incredible. I mean, I felt that way about seeing Zach, in person the first time. It's like, that's impossible.
Yeah,
it's just that should not exist. What are you doing? What? And so it'll be fun this year. The thing about his,
what do you think Zach Edey's real weight is right now? I just saw something about Shaq talking about his real weight at different times in his career.
He was $4 bills. Shaq was
he admitted he got up to 425, I think.
He was never listed at that, was he?
No. And that was the whole point. That was the whole point of his story.
It's like on paper would have been like 380.
Yeah.
Like
380?
I think he was listed way below that.
I thought it was like 330.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild. He could have been.
Think how big that sounds.
But he talked about why he did it. Like, it was like, okay, I was getting in shape for this. I thought I'd have to take a lot of contact. And then I kind of got a little bit complacent. And then I had to come back and get in really good shape and was doing these. So I trimmed way out. But he talked about how it affected his game, But how much do you think Zach Edey really weighs right now? I always say we can't really understand this. I'm 5'4". I weigh 200 pounds. Yeah. That guy is 7'4", 7'3", and he's rock solid. His legs are as big as my upper body.
He's listed at 305 currently.
Come on.
Oh, is he?
He's listed at 305. So let's put the.
I was going to say 285, and I thought I'd be high.
Oh, he's way above 305. I think.
So if you set the under, let's say at 315,
I'm up above.
That's a good number. That's a good setting of that because that's tough.
I don't think anybody's gonna say, "Wow, he's let himself go." I mean, look at it. He's a rock. His midsection's wild. His legs are the power though. That's a lot of weight in the legs.
And he's coordinated. That's the thing. So it's like, so usually you have like somebody else that is like emerging, right? That it's the Andrew Luck. He never won a Heisman because RG3. Was the shiny new object. He didn't win it in his first year, and then by the second year, he was the runner-up in the first year. And the second year, the shine has already been off, and RG3 was the shiny new object, right? For this year, it's Zach is not the shiny new object anymore. He was last year, but also there's no other player. Like there's no like emerging kind of natural next.
Somebody will
candidate for it.
Somebody will.
Maybe, but I think he's still going to be. I think Purdue is going to win enough games, and Zach is going to be, still dominant enough. Again, assuming that the Purdue ACL gods don't, take their vengeance and all of this. But like, he's going to be good enough that I think he's going to be.
I'm going to go with a player from Duke.
Still a
player
favorite.
From
just
Duke.
any of them. Just pick one.
Any player from Duke. It's not going to be Filipowski, I don't think. It'll be somebody else. So guard play again. That's what I think. Edie's so weird. So yeah. Who weighs more? Joe Inslee asks, who weighs more, Edie or Haas? Haas.
Oh,
Haas is big all over. His shoulders are huge.
Here's the thing, though. Sometimes the trainers forgot to pack Haas's arms, and that lowered the weight.
That did lower the weight. That's a good point.
You know what I mean? No,
yep, I remember those games too. Yeah, those were
Zach
weird.
Edey's arms have never been detached from his body.
He's always
the hands, they're always there.
Yeah.
They don't flip them out and get the fish hook ends, and
right.
so it's like it's good. It's that takes off the weight. So to me, it's Zach here. Filipowski is the second best odds, man. But everybody else, Zach Edey currently is at plus 175. Kyle Filipowski is next at plus 800.
I know there are few Purdue fans that thought Miles Colvin might be up there for Player of the Year.
Well, let's see.
And that's let a lot of people down that he's a freshman in college who just played with a bunch of small college or small high school kids. Here's the thing. Let's remember back. Remember Jaden Ivey, who I think was better right out of the box, much more prepared than Miles Colvin, right? Still took him some time to become who he was as a sophomore, right?
That's why wait until the spring for that. I think it's the beginning of the year is and it's good. This is a tough rotation to crack.
Yeah.
So.
The other thing I got to tell you that's annoying me more than anything, because I've been watching other sources just to hear what people are saying about Purdue. I've been trying to grit my teeth and say, okay, I'm going to listen to you talk for a second about Arkansas or Purdue. But one thing that really annoys me is hearing people say that they'll say things like all during Braden Smith's career, this. I'm like, all during Braden Smith's career, he's a sophomore. He's a true sophomore. Let's everybody pump the brakes.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? I know this is a little bit off of it, but do you love the stupid IU person a couple weeks ago who was trying to rip on Gillis?
What, saying what?
And they were making fun of Gillis's comments at the media day.
And
the guy said, I hope this guy never graduates. And Boilermakers was one of the people who replied and said, he already graduated. He's in grad school, you moron. And that's one of my favorite things is like an IU person trying really hard to sound smart.
To be clever. Yeah.
And you're so stupid. You don't even know it.
Yep.
Like,
I was like,
he never graduates.
He already did.
Dummy. Yeah. He's not a dodo. That's the thing that when the misconceptions of everybody, right? Zach Edey's a big dumb guy he's mean. You're like, you guys don't know a darn thing about this dude.
I'm okay with him.
You'd like him to be a little meaner.
No, he's plenty mean on the court. I would like one of the guards to be mean. I would like it if Braden Smith was a little mean. That'd be nice.
Braden Smith had a reputation in high school for.
I'd like some of that. Not all of it. Not all of it, but just like a sliver of it.
Yep.
I
understand. It's hard to unleash that a little of the Kraken.
But hey, if that's what it takes, I'm okay with it.
Yep.
Carson was real nice, but not on the court. He just, he wasn't a nice dude, between the lines. But
no, he was filthy between the lines. That's the thing. It's like,
so relax. Don't let every loss be a referendum and every win be meaningless. It'll be fine. It's fine, and it's also. Talking to you, some weird Purdue accounts that are existing out there. You don't have to tweet. It's fine.
It's okay. You don't have to sound off after everything happens.
You don't have to. You don't have to tweet out weird stuff. You can just be. You can just be. You can just live. It's fine. I promise. I promise.
You'll be okay. You'll be okay if you're not heard after a bad play.
Anyway, Purdue's football program is taking a second bye week, rare second bye week of the year, and so I'm hoping that they come out for Minnesota looking good after that.
Okay,
but we'll talk.
Are they going to beat the spread? Did you guys think they're going to beat the spread?
Maybe.
No, when Jim Harbaugh wants to run things up, he runs things up.
I think Purdue,
and he's not going to run.
I think it's going to be 40.
And he's not going to run it up because of Purdue. He's going to run it up.
No, it's not Purdue's fault. They're just in the way.
Because Michigan against the world.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
Screw you.
Yeah.
Correct. So, yeah.
Michigan versus everybody. These horrible tiny little states, Michigan and Ohio, have never. I mean, it's always been everybody hates them. It's tough. And they're right by Indiana. You'd think we, as part of the alliance against those two states would.
Plucky underdogs. It's fine.
Sons of bitches.
Well, we've hit the handsome 1.5 hours.
Yep. It's been a pleasure to hang out with you guys tonight. I'm sorry that I am not the happiest guy right now about football, but rest assured, like Anish said, the referendum on losses and the wins not being worth a damn, that'll be, oh boy, we'll be dealing with that on Twitter all season. So that's going to be a lot of fun. For Anish and Jay, thanks to our AJs and thanks to Home Field. I love you guys. Good night.